we're back with another video. Kale's motor just came in the other day, and it's an EJ20x, and this thing looks pristine, I'm telling you. It has supposedly 30,000 miles, which you never know with JDM motors, but I mean, from by the looks of it, it's clean. I mean, you can see like this head is like super clean. Most of the time they're dirty, just like this one right here. I mean, you can kind of see it. Usually they get like filled up with like grease and grime from the roads. But even the valve covers, I mean, look, just pristine. Same with like everything on the motor as well. Just looks super nice. Even the exhaust. So this is his EJ20x that just came in. That's going to be going in his bug eye this weekend, and we're going to be getting it torn down since we're waiting on parts for this WRX. Waiting on parts still. We're still looking for doors. So the abandoned WRX is going to be kind of getting put on hold until we can get some stuff for it. But yeah, we're gonna be tearing apart the EJ20X today. I'm gonna be kind of going over what we have to do to fit this motor in his bug eye. Today we're gonna be kind of going over what we need to do on his motor to get it ready to be put in his car. So we're gonna be tearing it down. We are gonna be leaving the VF37, which is a twin scroll JDM turbo. We're gonna be leaving that on, and he's ordering a downpipe that'll work on the car, but instead of doing a regular exhaust, we're actually building a fender exit for the turbo. So it's gonna be going, obviously the turbo sits right here, it's gonna be going like this, and it's gonna be running through this hole right here where your intake is. Same style that I had on my old Hawkeye that I had. It was a fender exit on a stock turbo, so it'll be cool to show you guys that. Other than that, we're just gonna be tearing down the car, tearing down the motor. We're gonna be taking off the whole intake manifold, because obviously this intake manifold has an electric throttle body, which is right here, and this is obviously for an 08 Legacy GT and whatever other models that came in. So the whole intake manifold is kind of worthless to us. This coolant reservoir actually has like some sawdust in it, like in the inside there. It's kind of hard to see because it's so dark. And then I mean, other than that, it's not a whole ton of stuff. One of the biggest things on these motors, if you're putting an EJ20X in a car that has the Hall effect timing, which is like a which is this sensor right here, that is your 02 to 04 or 05, I believe. That's how the car runs basically. And on like the 06, 07s and up, they are ran off of cam sensors, which this motor has cam sensors on each side of the heads, and that's how the newer models run off of. So they actually make a bracket, which I'll show you guys right here. So this is the bracket you need in order to put the sensor on this motor, because as you can see on this motor, there's no sensor that goes right here. You can kind of see. So as you can see, there's a little grommet there. That is where the timing sensor, you'd call it, goes. And this bracket, which is made by Torque Solutions, which is a super solid bracket, it's called a cam angle sensor bracket. So that's going to be getting bolted on to like this, like the valve cover right here, and that sensor is going to be able to get mounted right. So that is one of the biggest things you need in order to put an EJ20X or really any other newer motor in an older Subaru. Obviously you have dual AVCS on this motor, which we will be taking off the cam gears off of the 02 parts car, or the 04 WRX parts car, and we will be putting on here because we do not want AVCS cam gears. On the AVCS cam gears, they have the bolt which is like a banjo bolt, which allows oil to go through the cams, and we don't want to have all that extra stuff. Main things we have to put on this EJ20X in order for it to basically work for us putting it into his 02 WRX is the cam angle sensor, cam gears. We are going to try and reuse the TGVs with the injectors. We'll see if they're the same plugs as the USDM wiring harness. If not, then we'll have to obviously swap over the TGVs with the injectors that we have on the parts car. We'll have to swap over intake manifolds because this car is obviously an electric throttle body and the O2s are cable driven, so we have to swap over that intake manifold that has that cable driven stuff on it. That is pretty much it for things we really have to swap over. One thing that's really cool about the EJ20Xs is they come with cylinder 4 coolant mod stock, so that's like a big plus for us. Other than those things, I mean, I'm sure there's probably gonna be a few more things that I'm forgetting. Knock sensor is usually one you have to swap over just because the harness plugins are different, and then the cam sensors you obviously just leave unplugged since it's going in an O2. You don't have those sensor plugins for the cam sensors. We will be leaving the AVCS just unplugged. We are not going to be removing it and then putting block off plates on it. Another thing that we might need is the crank sensor. I don't know if they're the exact same or not. I'll have to check out the crank sprocket when we have the timing cover off, because sometimes the crank sprockets have different teeth on it, so that's another thing we'll have to check out. This AC is not going to work. So we're going to be getting this thing torn down and getting rid of everything we do not need on this motor. So pretty much we're going to get rid of this coolant reservoir because it's got a bunch of shit in it. We're going to get rid of the intake manifold, the whole wiring harness. We're going to get the timing cover off just to see how the timing looks, and then I'm going to go over with you guys how this bracket right here exactly works. So if you guys are trying to swap in an EJ20X into a 02 WRX, this is the way to go. It's junk. We don't need this at all. Like I said in the last video, we are going to be taking a transmission out of the gray parts car out there, the wagon, and we're going to be putting it in his WRX, which was an auto. So we're converting an automatic WRX into a manual WRX. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to convert a manual or an automatic WRX into a automatic, which it's really not hard. It's just really nice to have like a parts car, like a donor car, so you can have every little thing you need instead of trying to source it all, you know, which makes life a lot easier. So as you can see, there's a bunch of shit in there. Alright guys, so I was just checking over. So this is an O2 WRX harness. The ejectors are not going to work. As you can see, they don't want to plug in. So the fuel rails and injectors are going to have to come over onto the EJ20x, which is completely fine. We just got to get these taken off right here, these two 12s, that 12, and then I think maybe another one on the back, maybe on the back, I don't know. And then these fuel rails we'll just take off. And then other than that, I know this thermostat or this coolant temperature sensor is different. The USDM ones is a 3-plug, not a 2-plug. All right guys, so everything you need, I now know everything you need to swap over a EJ20x into your O2 WRX. To start off, you need this timing sensor, obviously. Injectors are not the same on the EJ20x, so the ones on the parts car are going to be coming on here. Fuel rails and injectors. Coolant temperature sensor needs to be changed. The NOx sensor needs to be changed. Other than those couple sensors, this motor is pretty much a drop-in ready motor for pretty much any vehicle. Obviously sensors can be a little different per vehicle, but in this case we are putting it in a O2 WRX, so it's pretty easy. We will be swapping over the cam gears and cam bolts, just so we don't have AVCS cam gears and cam bolts. I mean, the motor is pretty much down to what we need it to be for working on it tomorrow when we have more time. If you guys are putting an EJ20x in your Subaru, it's really not hard. Just a couple sensors you got to swap over. And to make it easy, if you blew up your Subaru, it's pretty much easiest just to take everything from your TGVs up, like your TGVs, intake manifold, and pretty much all that stuff, and just slap it on the EJ20x long block, and it's pretty much drop-in ready. If you guys are looking for like a cheap alternative to put a motor in your Subi, this is by far the best way I've ever found. Cheap, it's reliable. I mean, you really don't need to do a ton to modify it to fit it in. Just a few swapping over of stuff. Other than that, the biggest thing is a tune, because it's different compression ratio, different turbo, unless you put your unequal length, because the EJ20X's actually come with equal length headers and a triple bolt up pipe, so that's a little different. So that's another reason why we are keeping the turbo on there, is because it has equal length headers. I know you get rid of the Subi rumble, but it's actually better for your Subi motor in general. So yeah, I mean, stay tuned for the next video. It's going to be a crazy video. A lot of stuff's going to be going on. Everything from pulling a trans to putting a manual transmission in an automatic Subaru. So you guys will kind of get a walkthrough on how that works. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Peace.